I'm Gab. He's Jules. Blue skies over West London. And no, it's raining in Horrid, but that's okay. Go Birds, by the way.
Go Birds. Well done to you.
Well
Good
done.
luck.
Yeah, New Orleans. Here we come. What a show we have because there is so much going on this weekend. A hat trick from your boy Julien. Liverpool winning again. United actually winning. How about that?
Yeah, somehow.
Tough times at Spurs. Napoli indestructible, but Inter fire back. So a ton going on. Yeah. But we're going to start at Manchester City and Chelsea because obviously we talked about City in midweek when they played Paris Saint-Germain and let's face it, got mullered.
Yeah.
Now Chelsea comes to town. I think there's a lot of screws turned on City. The pressure here, 1,000% on City because they have that big game against Bruges, which, you figure they should win, but it is a must-win game for them. They come out as winners, but this could have taken a very different turn.
Yeah, I think so. I didn't think it was a great game, unfortunately, because they are obviously two big teams. But in terms of football level, I don't think it was that great. The game turns on this massive, incredible mistake by Robert Sanchez to try to come out for a ball that he's got no reason to go for or no need to go for, no urgency to go for, and then get chipped by Erling Haaland far too easily. I think Robert Sanchez, if you haven't seen it, go and check it out. But him coming out of his goal to try to get that ball changed the XG of that change from 0.03 to 0.42. This is what a mistake can do to you at this level. And after that, I don't think there was a way back for Chelsea and stuff. But there's no certainty for either teams. They were not in great form either. But well done to City for, I guess, maybe showing a bit more character to win this game.
Yeah, although I think Chelsea laid it on a plate for them. That with Sanchez, and I think it tends to go through a lot of the team. Now they got a huge lift when Trevoh Chalobah came back.
Yeah.
It was remarkable. It was as if like John Terry, Bobby Moore, Beckenbauer, and Franco Baresi rolled into one. No, but it did completely stabilize the back line because whatever he says, he clearly has more faith in. I don't think he has that much faith in any of his central defenders. The ones who are available now. Maybe Levi Colwill, although, of course, another mistake from him in this game. And so Chalobah gave him that lift. And I feel like it all got drained again in this match. And on Robert Sanchez, you said, I think from the time they signed Jorgensen, that Jorgensen is a much better keeper.
Absolutely.
I thought Sanchez was poor last season. I don't understand the appeal. Is he? And also, he's good with his feet. Yeah, but how good is he with his feet?
He still makes mistake with his feet as well.
Exactly.
Remember against Brighton, that game that Chelsea won, but still he gifted them a goal. He was bad when he was at Forest Green on loan, 5 years ago or something. He's not a good goalkeeper, and this Chelsea project cannot be seen as a serious project, Gab. For as long as they've got Robert Sanchez in goal, it doesn't work. And if you're Jorgensen, every time he's played, and I know there's a lot of Conference League games where he would be too good because even the under-19 goalkeeper would be good enough for that. But I don't know what he has to do to deserve a chance. And I'm really hoping that for the West Ham derby next weekend, he drops Sanchez and finally starts Jorgensen for good in the Premier League.
I was really surprised when City, when I see the City lineup and Kusanov and Marmoush are in there.
I agree.
I thought that was a huge call from Pep. It is so counterintuitive to go two new signings, one of them 20 years old, inexperienced, in a game that is an important game because you know what? City are up to fourth now, but they lose this game. They're further back. There's teams coming behind them.
Yeah.
Was this just Pep being brave and chucking these two guys in without... Marmoush must have had, 2 training sessions?
Yeah, they had 3 training sessions or something like that, the two of them. I don't think Guardiola should have started. Kusanov especially. Marmoush may be a little bit different as a forward, but for Kusanov, I didn't think Guardiola should have started him. I thought that was a poisonous present in a way. He was not ready. You could see on his face, even in the tunnel, that he didn't look right, that the tension, the pressure was getting to him. I know Stones is not fully fit, but Stones could have played for the first half, the first hour, and then Kusanov could have come on if Stones was struggling. By then, City could have been 3-0 up, for example. Instead, you really throw Kusanov in at the deeper end where he's not ready for it. I know Makusanov. I've seen pretty much every game he played for Lens in France. He was like overwhelmed massively even before the first ball was kicked in that game. And it's no surprise, I think, that he made those mistakes. He's a much better player than that, and he will be great. And he will learn from it for sure. But I thought Guardiola played with fire there. So this is the question I have for you, Gabby. I think Guardiola in his pre-match press conference mentioned that they would play a different style. I guess he knew that Chelsea were never going to park the bus. That's not what they do. Under Maresca, it was very likely that they would play with a high defensive line, which is what they do. Okay, so I think we all knew what was coming at some point, considering City don't really have the legs anymore, don't really have the same intensity anymore for the usual Guardiola style of football. Then we knew that at some point they would probably go long. And indeed, they went long, especially more in that second half even than in the first half. And yeah, I am watching this game on television. I'm watching Maresca and I'm watching Chelsea, and I see nothing, no changes, nothing to adapt to. Clearly, this tactics from City to play long on Haaland, to hold the ball up and then play everybody else into the game. And I'm like, okay, surely at some point now, Maresca is going to do something, just adapt to what City are doing, to counter them, to defend better against that. And yet he doesn't do anything. And I'm like, why are you not, since when do you not adapt what your team is doing, especially when you're losing, to what the opposition team is doing?
So I refer you back, as we all know, Enzo Maresca, previously Pep Guardiola's assistant.
Yeah.
I have two theories on this one, right? So one, because they both know each other so well, it's the kind of thing where they both try to use reverse psychology.
Yeah.
So maybe Maresca thinking, oh, Pep knows that I know that he's going to adapt, that he's going to try to get Haaland to hold the ball up and maybe, come a little deeper, come short for the ball. By the way, all things that Gab Marcotti has been saying for the last 6 months, that maybe when things go badly, you should use Haaland a little differently. Now Pep has listened and is doing it. Just kidding. So I'm going to surprise him by not adjusting to that, and that's going to confuse Pep. I mean, I think there is something to this, right? You're going to adjust. They know each other so well. It is a bit of that jiu-jitsu. Obviously, it didn't work out.
Yeah.
And the other thing, I remind you philosophically, all these people, they're all children of Christ. And Pep has said this in the past, right? If plan A doesn't work, we move to plan B. Plan B is to do a better job at plan A. And I would imagine, especially with a lot of those balls, part of the reason that it was also badly executed by Chelsea. In other words, when they keep the high line, if there's no pressure on the opponent with the ball in his own half, you have to drop off, right? It's the oldest basic rules. In Italian, we call it covered ball or uncovered ball, right? And they're not getting around the pitch and pressing as effectively as they are. They're from it. You don't even, I'm maybe pressing. You don't need to go and press the life out of it Klopp style.
Yeah.
You just need to have somebody nearby standing in front of the dude with the ball, and then he's not going to hit the ball over the top. But too often, I think City found themselves in those situations where they looked up and they had the opportunity to go vertical. And I think that's what Maresca would say. That would be his explanation.
Yeah. I was disappointed because I think it cost them the game. I know that Robert Sanchez is the bigger mistake. The Cole Palmer strange cross for Nico when he's one-on-one with the keeper instead of going for goal himself is a weird one, and that could have gone 2-0 up for Chelsea.
But wasn't that on his right foot?
Well, he can open his left foot. I think he had still enough space between him and the defender behind to go with his left foot. And even if you think that the cross is the right call for a player like him, even on his wrong foot, it's a bad pass.
He said it many times, I have no right foot.
Yeah, well, he should have won at that level, and that was a bad pass. And it's a shame. I don't know what would have happened after if Chelsea had gone 2-0 up, but this is also a big turning point.
I also think, you can either adapt system or you can also bring in players off the bench, give it a different look, freshen it up. And this is not an excuse, obviously, because those players who are there, many of them he chose. He chose to spend money in Kieran Dewsbury Hall and people like that, or at least the club did. But I look at this and I say, I really think there is such a drop-off between the B team, if you want to call it that, the guys they have on the bench.
Yeah.
And again, nobody's going to feel any sympathy for them because they spent all this money and whatever else, right? But when you look at it and I go back to this, right? Mark you? Really?
Yeah,
This is my option? What?
Yeah, no, he's not good. But Nkunku, Neto, these are good players.
Okay, you want Neto? Would Neto be in the fourth string at Paris Saint-Germain? I mean,
No. But this is
Neto's
not what
a
you
good
said.
player
This is
because
not
he
what
plays
you
on either
said.
wing.
You said there's a massive gap between the starters. I don't think there's a massive gap between Madueke and Neto.
I think there is.
I
think Neto's main
there
asset is he plays on both flanks.
I don't think there is. And Neto has been good when he played and when he started. When you play him in his position on the right wing, not the left wing.
I think there's an argument to be made that I think Nkunku, since Manesca arrived, could be contributing more. Maybe this is a super sub. Maybe you do change things up. Maybe this is his inflexibility. Maybe you find a way to play Nkunku with Jackson together. Let's not forget.
Yeah.
Jackson was a winger until he became a center forward, right? And he played in the two in the past. Nkunku, when he played forward, he always played on the two. Is there a way to do that? Should you just because he's more talented than most of these guys you have on the pitch, and you should get Nkunku on the pitch because he's more talented.
Yeah, even for Jackson, I think there's an argument to have that him and Palmer can play very well as a front two together. And Nkunku and
they
Palmer.
can, but everything changes though.
True.
If it's Nkunku and Jackson, instead of Jackson.
Yeah. But I think that can still work. But he never really tried it. For Maresca from the beginning, and I'm not having a go at Maresca because he's done a good job. Let's be honest.
He's done a very good job given the circumstances.
Even with one win in the last 7 Premier League matches, though. But still, it's still a very good job. I just think, and maybe he never felt he had the time or the capacity to try something different and work on an Nkunku Palmer front two, for example. I think he's been a really plan A guy with Nico Jackson in the team. And when Nico was doing well, which he was for the first 6 months of the season, I had no issues. But now that Nico is not doing well anymore, not at all, then I think having a plan B with maybe an Nkunku option and a slightly different style would be could be beneficial.
Or just having a reserve center forward who is
not
but
you don't have that. So
no, but
you Nkunku and you never use him. And Nkunku needs to leave this club. As sad as it is for me, Christopher Nkunku has to leave Chelsea Football Club right now.
Right.
Because nothing is going to improve for him there.
Well, unless Cole Palmer gets injured or suspended, and then Nkunku comes in from Palmer and plays his actual real position. But
you can't base your career on if a guy gets injured.
It is interesting though, and I mean I think this was one of the knocks on Manesca, is he has a very clear way of playing, and he has pieces that don't fit in that. Right? We said it before.
True. No, that's very true.
So still, I mean they're up there, they're fighting, they're progressing, they've got a ton more points than they did last season. I think this summer is going to be very big for them. Final word on City.
Did you like Marmoush?
He's fast. He's playing with Haaland. He's always played in the front two. You could see.
We said the other day, we explained, didn't we, that
we explained why we don't
the best position for him.
But we also explained that why we weren't wild about this transfer, in the sense that, are you going to transition to a front two? He's not Alvarez. I think, other than being faster than Alvarez, I think Alvarez is, and I don't like Alvarez, as you know. I'm not a big Alvarez guy.
Yeah.
I think Alvarez is better than Marmoush at pretty much everything, except maybe speaking Arabic.
I think you're a bit harsh. I thought that was a good debut. I think he brought a lot of energy.
I'm not saying he played badly. No, it was a great debut.
I think he's a good option to have. And yeah, the front two means there's no De Bruyne in this team, and Foden has at times to play wider. But then I saw a lot of fluidity between Marmoush and Foden. Marmoush then going wide and making those runs from the side in towards the center of the pitch, which worked great. So I'm quite excited to see how this evolves in.
If you're Jeremy Doku, what are you thinking now?
Well, you can play Doku on the left.
No, but if you think about it, right? You've built a team on wingers, right? That's kind of been your thing. Doku, Savinho. I mean, without getting into it. And I obviously I know they have to add depth, right? But Doku and Savinho are still young. I just wonder, projecting forward, where it all fits. I mean, is Marmoush there because Savinho and Doku have shown that they cannot provide?
No, I don't know. I think it's a different option. And for the lack of plan B, in a way that we talked about Chelsea and Maresca with not using Nkunku a little bit better, for example, I think for Pep, Teams with a high line, you can play Marmoush for all the runs in behind, and he will trouble you, him and Haaland. A team that play a lower block, for example, like let's say a small team or smaller team, or even Bruges in the Champions League. Not that Marmoush can play in the Champions League, but let's say Bruges in the Champions League. Marmoush would not play maybe, but then you have your wingers and you play heavily on your wingers that can make a difference like that. It gives you so many more options to have somebody like Marmoush in your team on top of De Bruyne and Foden and Savinho and Bernardo Silva and Doku and Grealish. They all bring something different. So I can see why they overspent, but I can see why they did it.
I don't know. I'm still mid-season. I'm still not totally convinced, and I do think that they overspent. But Haaland, okay. I don't want to make too much of a big deal out of it. But I do think I'll be really curious to see how they use him going forward. We talked about unlocking his potential, getting him to do more things than just finishing. I think we saw a little bit of it in this game. I think we saw a tiny bit of it actually in Paris, with the difference, though, that, I think once they took the lead, they tried to settle down, and then it all went out the window. I think it does open up the interplay between him and Marmoush. Should they choose to go with a front two, that is what excites me. I think that is the next phase in his development. Erling Haaland can hold up. People say he doesn't hold up the ball. No, he can. He did it for one of the goals there. Erling Haaland, I think, can also pass, which other people don't. People don't give him credit for. Is he Cole Palmer on the ball? No. But he can pass. He can spot a pass. He can wait a pass. He can lift it. He can fight a pass. It gives you, playing with the front two gives you different points of attack in a way that this doesn't. And my only concern would be this season. Obviously, Pep's not going to have the time to properly work on that. But I think that might be the next evolution, whether it's a Haaland Foden front two or 1+1, whether it's Foden behind Haaland and Marmoush, sort of projecting forward to a future without De Bruyne and Bernardo Silva. I think that's got to be it.
Yeah, except that the long ball, him holding up the ball and the long balls, they will only have 3 more games this season where they can play that. Liverpool, Arsenal, and Spurs. And the other teams won't allow that because nobody will play with such a high defensive line like Chelsea did at the weekend, like Arsenal will do next week.
You don't think a game where City take the lead and the other team have to come forward, you don't think it gives you a natural outlet?
Who comes forward? Even the teams that come forward against City don't play with a high defensive line. They don't. Even not Villa. Even not Bournemouth. So
even if it's not a super high defensive line, the idea of dropping him, receiving the ball, and distributing it to runners.
No, but it's good to have when you play against a team with a high line, like they did on Sunday. Great, and I expect a lot of long balls towards Haaland in the Arsenal City game on Sunday, which is massive, obviously next weekend. But for most of the games they play this season, they won't be able to do it because they just Ederson will never have the ball to play long from his own box.